What's up, everybody? Tactical Bearded Dad here, and I am here with the man himself from Miller Precision, Houston Miller. Houston, how you doing? Nice to have you here.
Man. Awesome to be here. We're excited to be talking about the Ranger 9 today for sure.
Oh yeah, I am super pumped, man. I've been very excited about this whole thing ever since I saw you at SHOT Show last year. I know I've been bugging you ever since then. You're like, God, man, this guy is going to keep on messaging me. So, but, you know, I was really excited to see it. You know, I really loved all the different designs you had and everything like that. You know, it was something kind of cool because you were kind of like tucked up in a, you know, hallway somewhere behind a thing. I mean, like, didn't even know you were up there. And we just happened to come up there and, you know, came across your booth. And you know, I had personally heard a little bit about you, you know, from some of the stuff that you were doing with like Vulcan and things like that. You know, but really just, you know, tell us a little bit, who is Houston, you know, kind of where Miller Precision came from. I'm sure it's probably a really long story, but, you know, you can just kind of give us a little tidbits. And I want everybody to know this man, how old are you again?
29.
This man is 29 years old, okay, and doing what he does. And gonna go over it. I don't know if you have seen his video, you know, with the shop tour that he did and everything like that. Like, first of all, the shop is beautiful, and I know you've, you know, just recently gotten there. You know, what, a couple months ago or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 3 or 4 months ago we finally moved in. That was delayed for over 2 years actually. We should have been here a long time ago. But
yeah, so I mean, it's just a beautiful place. A lot of people don't realize it, you know, but you do a lot for other companies that we can't talk about and things like that. But you know, it's such a beautiful thing to see, like how that shop came about, how it looks, everything like that. So yeah, just tell us a little about yourself and
yeah, sure. I started using SolidWorks in high school, which is a 3D modeling software, and I really fell in love with it. You know, the whole story for me on how this thing came about and where we got started was all in manufacturing. So to go back to the very beginning and try and make it quick and condensed is, in high school, I was using the 3D modeling software, got an opportunity to play with some 3D printers, really fell in love with it. It was awesome. Graduated high school. My dad sold his, you know, lifelong company that I would been kind of preparing to take over. So I got an opportunity to find out what it is I wanted to do. And so I fell into the machining. I actually had a buddy of mine that is a good friend of my father's as well, go to the gun range with us one afternoon, and he pulled out an AR-15, and he had made the upper and lower receiver, which was really neat. And I didn't believe him. So he actually took me to the machine shop he worked at, you know, after the gun range, and showed me the machines. Blew my mind. Coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And so got really into SolidWorks in high school, and they built the Votech school built the machine shop right next to me. So I saw that going in, and I was like, you know what, I kind of want to do that or see what it's about. And then my dad's business sold, and it turned into an opportunity. So I took the machining course right out of high school for about 6 months out of a 12-month long course, and I couldn't do school anymore because I just never liked school. And I went and worked for a different machine shop here in town under the guy that got me into it, my dad's buddy. And he trained me for about a year and a half. I was programming, setting machines up, doing a lot of milling. And he left the company, went to a different place. So I actually moved back to a different department, in the turning department, doing lathe work at the same company, and had been friends with the guy there for about a year and a half that Jeff was also friends with. And it turned into just an awesome ordeal. I got to learn turning, I learned milling from Jeff, got to work, you know, learn from these guys that were immensely, you know, just fantastic machinists. And then once I left there, I actually bought a machine of my own. I bought a little Fadal 3-axis mill. And my grandfather owned a metal roofing company at that time. So he had a small area in his shop. He let me build a little wooden hut, if you will. I stuck a window unit on it and got out an air compressor and wired the machine up. And I was going there after hours. I was working 410s at a prototyping shop. And then Fridays I had off, and Saturdays I worked full time. I started out doing oddball stuff, you know, optic cuts, doing slide serrations for people on clocks, like when that was starting to get big. Did a lot of little small manufacturing parts for boat companies, stuff like that from around town. Made my money back on the machine pretty quick, which was awesome. And my dad saw an opportunity for me. You know, he was newly retired at this point, selling his company, and he had a rental facility just down the street, and the renters were moving out. So he asked me, you know, hey, you want the opportunity to kind of go for this for real? And obviously I said yes. So he helped bankroll the project. You know, I wouldn't be here without my father. So I want to give him a shout out and say thanks. But he gave me kind of a loan and said, well, let's buy the equipment you think you need. So I bought a couple different machines. We moved them into the shop, got the shop all set up, and then we couldn't get three-phase power for over 100 days. I quit my job. I was trying to move into my new shop and actually start a business. And FPL, which is Florida Power and Light, they couldn't get me electricity. And so I was, you know, it was over before it began, I thought. But it ended up working out. I ended up getting power January 1, basically, 2017 in that building. And that was really what I call the start of Miller Precision Machining. And we did job shop work then. I picked up a few other machines, got a machine for free that was broken that I had fixed. Ran it for a while. We were doing odds and ends, a lot of aerospace stuff, a lot of medical stuff, a lot of race car parts, some gun stuff here and there. It was awesome. Really just enjoyed it fully. You know, just realized I can. There we go. Make myself a little bigger. Sorry. It's recording my screen, right? So anyway, so we just had a good time, you know, doing machining and doing whatever else. So I was, you know, loved guns in the background. A lot of ARs, a lot of rifles, pistols, stuff like that. I would have modified whatever I bought, you know, put ports in it, slide optic cuts, you know, I did it for my buddies too. So it kind of spiraled. I went to SHOT Show, you know, 4 years ago for the first time. I saw the industry in its whole and just fell in love with it. It was crazy how huge SHOT Show is. I mean, you know, you walk in there the first time, it's just mind-boggling how huge it is and how much money is obviously being spent and made. So I saw a market for the 2011 stuff. You know, at that point, there was a couple people, it was really just Atlas and Staccato at that point doing some guns, others kind of here and there. But I saw a need for the grips. So we started working on grips. We actually made a prototype pistol, old school style, 1911, and it worked well. But I decided I didn't want to manufacture that way. So we went ahead and redesigned it to do all the linkless stuff that we're doing, redesigned the grips to be, you know, reversal magazine release, to the trigger bows differently. Just made all the changes that I wanted to make over the last, I don't know, year and a half now at this point. Actually come up to 2 years probably at this point. So, and then it was just delay after delay with moving my shop, getting new equipment, having to pay the bills, do job shop work. You know, it was difficult to get it started where we're at now finally, but that's kind of the gist of it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we had talked in the past and everything, and it was like I'd call you up and I'd be like, you know, hey man, how's everything going? And you're like, ah man, it's freaking now this ain't happening, and the floor is not, you know, set up, and you know, so I know that's such a tough thing to have to deal with and all that stuff, and you know, and still in the background trying to make sure that everything's flowing and things are moving, and you know, you're still pushing out those things. So you know, a lot of people didn't realize, you know, that you're doing all the AR-15 stuff and things like that. A lot of people didn't even know that you were doing the grips. So, you know, I know, you know, Vulcan kind of helped with some of that and everything, you know, putting it on their 11. I know that they had some, you know, issues in the past, because I remember the 11 at the beginning started off with like the LSI grip or something. And then, you know, I had heard that there was some, you know, some issues there, so they decided to go with your grip, in which, you know, I really dig it. You know, and this whole video is all about this gun right here, you know, or you know, partly of it. But you know, so with it, explain to us, you know, really what made you decide to go with this style grip, because it is different. It is, well, it's the same, but it is different. You know,
right. There's changes to improve it. That's what I like to say.
Yeah. So I really dig the fact that, you know, it is ambidextrous. You know, that is one thing that a lot of these grips don't have. And, you know, and you went with the, you know, kind of Glock-ish style with the spring and things like that. You know, kind of what made you make the decision to do certain things with this grip compared to, you know, your traditional style grip?
Yeah, so like I had a buddy with a few Staccatos. I don't even own a Staccato actually, ironically. But I immediately grabbed it and was like, man, this thing is like a potato. right? It's fat, it's wide, it's just kind of uncomfortable in the hands. I don't have huge hands. I just got a regular medium-sized hand, you know, and so holding that pistol was just almost uncomfortable. It shot very well. I loved it, but it was just uncomfortable and big. It was bulky. So the whole idea for me doing the grip was I wanted to thin it out. I wanted to put a really heavy undercut on there so you could get a better grip, you know, on the pistol, get a higher grip on it as well. And the mag release came to me because, you know, the left-handed market is, you know, 20 to 30% of shooters are left-handed. You know, they don't have an option there at all. So from a sales perspective, adding an additional 20 or 30% to the sales right out of the gate sounds fantastic, right? So obviously ambidextrous became a big staple in what we were doing and trying to design around that. You know, and the way we ended up with the mag release functioning was actually ease of manufacturing. I could have done something similar to what the new Staccato HD does with their reversible mag release, but machining those is kind of difficult. So I made it a little easier. Our mag release is much simpler to make itself. Drilling the small hole that the spring sits in is a little difficult, but it's nothing out of the ordinary for us. So it was just easier for us to manufacture that design, and that's why we went ahead and went with that. And it's also just unbelievably easy to flip around, you know, and there's really no tools other than a tube, like a pick or a screwdriver that you need.
Yeah, for sure. So with the Ranger 9 and everything, was it the grip that came first and then the gun, or did the gun come first to kind of go with the grip?
The grip, in the beginning, it was kind of both. I wanted to just make a pistol for fun. It really started out as a Saturday project for Jeff and I, just to see if we could do it first. Like, can we prove to ourselves we can actually make this? And then after that, it was like, what do we do? So we made a gun. I still have it upstairs in the safe. It was a proprietary frame and grip, traditional 1911, 2011 style, barrel link, all that. And we went and had it fitted at a local company down here that we're friends with. They kind of taught us how to fit everything and put it together on a weekend. And I saw how much work goes into the fitting, what kind of, you know, just massaging and finishing it has to go into it to make it function properly, right? And I said, no, there's got to be a better way than that. Because there's no way companies like Glock, you know, SIG, Smith & Wesson, they're not sitting in an assembly line and figuring out different barrel lengths and testing and pulling these guns apart and sanding stuff and fitting all these different things to get this functioning firearm. They're all coming off the assembly line going together. So that was the dream that I had, was let's make a pistol that's this good and feels awesome and is in this marketplace that everyone is falling in love with. You know, all metal guns, I think, are coming back for sure. That's kind of why we went with that route as well. But not make it traditionally, you know, because of manufacturing purposes, because of the fitting purposes. And there's obviously, you know, drawbacks to the original style as well. You know, there's pros and cons to everything, right? And so the pros of changing the design, you know, far outweighed the cons of the original design to me. That's why we ended up with that. But after we made that prototype pistol, we saw a hole in the marketplace for grips. And a lot of that was with Vulcan as well. He was having a supply chain issue, just couldn't get but 5 or 10 grips a week, and he needed, you know, 20 or 30 plus. So we saw an opportunity there and started working with Jeremy over there. They're awesome guys. And just started whipping out grips. You know, that's been our main, you know, bread and butter in the industry so far, up until the release of the pistol. But it wasn't very long after the first prototype we had kind of hand fit together traditionally. I had drawn up and made a functioning, you know, Ranger 9 probably close to 2 years ago. And we shot it and it functioned perfectly. And I decided, you know what, that's what we're doing. And then I started going further and further with it. You know, the internal extractor was a secondary thought that had come to me later. Different optics plates, proprietary stuff, so it all blends together as one. You know, like all these different ideas and things you see on our pistol were all very intentional, and all ideas I had as we were going through it, redesigning everything and changing and just updating what we did.
So since you just mentioned it, optic plates, that is a question that we have had. So are there different optic plates, or is it just RMR? You know, kind of what's the look on it?
Absolutely. No, there's definitely different optic plates. Currently, we have the RMR plate ships with it, just because that's the most popular footprint, right? And then we're doing like that free gift thing I mentioned, I'm going to be mentioning in another video I have coming out shortly here as well, kind of going over the Ranger 9 and what we're going to be doing. But in the short of it, there's going to be like a warranty thing. You sign up with your warranty, register your pistol online with our website. It'll give you the option for a free gift. You can pick out a T-shirt, a hat, get your iron sight optic plate if you want it from us, or maybe some base pads or something. We could get some other options we'll throw out there too. But the RMR is just the most popular. So we also have the Delta Point. We also have Acro, Holosun K, Holosun 509, and RMR CC. And I'm forgetting one. I always forget one. I don't remember which one it is.
Is it the what's the other one that a lot of
the RMS? I think it's the RMS.
Okay, yeah,
I think so.
Seymour, maybe.
I don't know.
But,
the footprint's called something different, I think, but I think it's the RMS.
Okay, but you have all those, so people can actually get them now.
Yeah, and they're on the shelf right now. They're just not on the website currently. We're working with the sales team right now, trying to get the website updated with all of this information, all these parts for sure. The warranty thing's not active yet either. The cards are in the bags. You'll be able to register them at a later date, but we haven't got the website up to speed yet with us.
Okay, so run us through the Ranger 9, lineup.
Sure. Hold on just a second. Let's take a picture for a second. What it's videoing you and me, right? But I don't know if it's controlling just my screen. And if it's only seeing you real big and me real small in the corner. So I want to see if I can share us both on a screen at equal sizes.
I see you big, me small, because I think it just depends on who it is. I know there was something. Where did I see it?
I thought about it when I started making halfway through that story. I'm like, oh, this looks stupid because I'm tiny in the corner.
So I see where you can go to more options, adjust view, and then spotlight. And I think that makes it to whoever's talking goes big.
That's just the view on my screen. It's not changing over here for some reason. Open picture to picture. Full screen. I don't know. People. Into screen for everyone.
There we go.
Do you see both of us?
Yeah, we're both like the same size now.
Perfect. There you go. That's what I wanted.
Cool.
Okay. Me resituating myself. So I know I can see this. We can redo the story or something or whatever if we wanted to, but we can start jumping out questions if you want.
Yeah. So, all right. Talk to me about the Ranger 9 platform. Like, what's all the different models and what makes them different?
Okay, sure. So we got the 5-inch overall size. Jesus Christ. Let's do that one over again. I can't say overall length for some reason.
All right, so let's talk about the whole Ranger 9 lineup. What's the difference? We can start off with this bad boy right here, the Ranger 9X, and kind of go down from it. So tell us about this.
Yeah, definitely. So we have the Ranger 9X, like you got right there. That is a 5-inch overall length pistol with a compensator, right? It's similar to a lot of other pistols you guys have seen out there, other than our obvious changes. The other options we got are a 4.4 overall, and that's going to have porting options, threaded barrel options, just a standard, pistol option. And then we have the 4-inch subcompact as well. Same thing, ported, threaded if you want it, however you want to build it, it can be built. The cool part about that is we also have the Staccato C2 size 120 millimeter grips. So that will be a carry gun, if you will. And then we also have a full size 5-inch. So just ported or threaded, however you want to do it. Those are the 4 options we're starting with. We might do a 4.6 or a smaller comp or something like that in the future. There seems to be some interest in that. But that'll be the 4 guns right out of the marketplace immediately. We started with the comp. We got 4.4s coming back from DLC this week. We'll get those out in the marketplace. And then we've got a bunch of subcompacts coming off the assembly line, not the assembly line, but the machine shop right now. And then we're going to some full sizes. We're just working through every model along the way to make sure our process is all proven out. And then we're going to start filling what's most popular, right? Who wants what gun? What's going to end up happening.
Yeah. So, and you know, a lot of people don't know this, but you know, you've got the 4 different models, but then you also have Covert has their limited model, which is pretty much this gun, but it's also got the porting on it as well. So, you know, if you're wanting the creme de la creme of them, that's where you need to go to Covert, get the one from them. But then all the other 4 models, those are the ones that are at all the other shops, which, you know, if you're looking for, you know, one, I think on your website, it has like find a dealer or something like that on it and everything.
There's going to be a dealer map on the website. There should be 15 to 18 dealers across the country. So there should be somebody local enough to you where you can always call, you know, a couple of the bigger ones and have them ship to you, your local FFL as well.
Yeah. So, you know, and most everybody has seen this gun. This has kind of been the demo that's been around to a lot of different people and stuff like that. You know, and one question I've had is with this is a thread. This is not a one-piece barrel. I've had questions about it. And, you know, you've had those a couple of ones that, man, Staccato is going to be mad at you. So, no, it's different. You know, you've always got those people that's got something to say about everything. But the one thing that I have noticed with this, with messing with it, is it's just the ease of everything. When a lot of people hear like linkless barrel and things like that, you know, everybody thinks of the one company we're not going to mention because that might, you know, mess up this whole video. But, you know, when you take theirs apart, you know, it's a lot more difficult, where with this one, it's so simple. The other day when I was taking it apart, I was expecting it to be a little bit more difficult, but it was just so simple. It was simple to take apart. It was simple to put back together. Everything just fits so nicely, so perfectly. It lined up easily. It's insanely smooth. You know, I do love the fact that, you know, you've got ambidextrous slide release, you've got ambidextrous mag release. The magwell on it, I really dig it. It's very nice form fitting. You know, the grip safety, and it's something that it might just be me, but I love the way that you designed it. I love how when the hammer and the grip safety like kind of meet with each other, they're lined up. I love how you kind of like chopped it off at the end and you don't have the little nub like more traditional ones and things like that, you know, and I've had a lot of questions about this, you know, why the Ranger 9, you know, a lot of people, I know the reason why, but you can maybe answer that. Why only certain colors? Why only blue? You know, why does it look like there's gaps, things like that? And these are some questions that I've already answered in some of the videos. You know, a lot of people don't realize this, and my video is not that great, but it's actually a lot tighter. As you can see, you can't see any light through it. You know, and I've got light behind me and stuff like that. It's just the way that the gun is designed, and all these gaps are all done on purpose. It's all lined up perfectly and everything like that. So, you know, with it, sometimes it's better to get one in hand than just to say something about a picture. But, you know, one of the questions we have had is, why are all the triggers either black or blue?
Anodized limitations, right? We don't want to Cerakote stuff or anything like that. We do hard coat anodize on everything. The triggers are just standard anodized. But our vendor that we use for anodized does black and blue. I don't want to get too carried away with different colors and options. It's just too many SKUs to keep track of. We can later on, if it's a highly requested thing, add a red, add a gold. We can do a green as well. There's a couple other options out there that we have that vendors can do, but it's just too many SKUs, right? I like the blue accent. It's just something I've always appreciated. So we offer the option of blue, right? It was originally just going to all be black.
Okay. You know, and some people don't realize this, but, you know, most of these guns, they have so many different options you can choose, but it's the dealers that are choosing the options. So
Right.
you're not just saying, hey, here's the gun. The dealer is choosing the option, which changes the price on it. We've had questions about pricing and things like that. Explain that to me real quick. You had answered that in one of the questions or whatever, but explain the pricing for everybody that's watching.
Sure. Originally, the pricing was all going to be, $37.50 starting for the standard pistols. So your 5-inch, your 4.4, and the 4-inch. And then the comp was going to start at $4,200. I've been saying that since day one. The options that come with it, it's like buying a car. If you want the ambi safety, it's a bit of an add-on. You want the ambi slide stop, I got to modify the frame. We have to make one other assembly. It's a little bit of an add-on there. If you want the iron sight or the optics plate, I'm sorry. If you want different color triggers, like all this stuff adds in. Porting was another one as an option. When you add all that, magwells was another option. I'm trying to think, just forget stuff off the top of my head. What else is an option? There's so many of them. You can make out of the 4 models with all the options we have. You could design, 100 different guns. So what ended up happening is when we opened this up to dealers to start building custom pistols and kind of showing us what they thought the market would want, we realized that everything is all ambi. There was not a single gun ordered that was not ambi. So all the ambi options were chosen right out of the gate. That was $250 worth of add-ons right there. And then all of them wanted porting. Almost every gun is ported. That's another, $100, $150. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but by the time you add all this up, they all wanted magwells, they all wanted optics plates. You add all of that into it, and you end up with the price points that you're going to start seeing from the dealers, purely because of what they built, right?
Yeah. So with it, where does the name Ranger come from?
Ranger is actually our German Shepherd, and he's unfortunately not here today. He stayed at home with my mom and son. So he's hanging out with them today, but he is awesome. He's been with me from day one at the shop. In 2017 when I started, he was just a puppy. And I got pictures of him in a fold-up lawn chair in my little wooden hut with my little CNC machine and working with me. And he's come to work with me every single day since. And I actually have a gigantic mural I just have painted on the wall here in the shop. I'll be posting photos of and doing a video as well. But that's Ranger. He's 120-pound German Shepherd. He's awesome. He's part of the family. So I decided to name the gun after him.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the fact that he's been there with you forever. Because I remember one of the very first one of these that I saw, it actually had a picture of him on it and everything like that. So I thought that was really cool and everything. So one thing that I don't think a lot of people that have gotten into 2011s realize that 2011s kind of blew up in the last 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years ago, like you said before, there wasn't many companies out there. Yeah, there were some people, doing things, but you really had Staccato and Atlas. That was really your two, and you had a couple of different builders that were building one-off things. But in the last 2 to 3 years, 2011s have went from 10 different companies to like 60 different companies now. So if you had to say kind of one thing, what separates you from all these other companies? And before you answer that, I want to say something. This was one thing that really got me when I started talking to Houston was with this gun, outside of the optic and the light, you make everything in-house about 98% of this gun. Okay.
Correct.
Which is insane because a lot of us 2011 guys, we know that most companies just get parts from different places and they kind of put them together and they make their own thing. So for me, that is really the biggest thing to me that separates you from so many other companies is that you start with a block and turn it into that.
Right. And that was a huge part of the pistol, right? I want to be in full control of everything and tolerancing, prints, the actual manufacturing of everything. And that's why we're able to do what we're doing and produce a frame and a slide that go together, beautifully right off the machine. You know, that pistol you have in your hands over there is right off the machine. We did not fit any of that. It's very tight. It's very smooth. You know, when you start having to take all these parts from other manufacturers and put them together, well, of course, they're not going to be tight enough tolerance. They're not going to fit together in the beginning. You have to do all of this fitting. You have to do all this massaging to get these guns to go together properly and function. You know, and that was a goal of mine in the beginning, was to not have to do any of that, right? That's why I redesigned the pistol. That's why it stands out from others. We make everything in-house. We make everything in-house currently, other than the sear, the disconnector, and the hammer strut. And the only reason we're not doing those three pieces is because they're small and our equipment's pretty large and it's all busy. We're doing everything we can to get as many pistols out the door as we can. So those three components are easy enough to purchase from, you know, reputable vendors. So at the moment, we're still purchasing those, but those will be made in-house with time as well. You know, as we start to roll into other projects and get more equipment, those will just come online. It'll be very easy. So, but as far as everything else that stands out about our pistol in this marketplace, like you originally asked, is the design, right? I wanted to make the whole thing simpler to disassemble. I wanted to make it simpler to manufacture. I wanted to make it, you know, toolless disassembly as much as I could. And I wanted to redesign it to be more ergonomic, ambidextrous, function more like a modern handgun. You know, the 1911, as awesome as it is, you know, over 100 years old design now. Really just stand apart from everybody else was my goal, you know, while also producing a unbelievably reliable and great shooting pistol.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And I mean, I will tell you, with the little bit of time I've had with it, you know, I'm extremely impressed with it. You know, everything down to even the way that, you know, this piece right here comes apart and how you just flip it up and it comes out. I mean, like, everything just lines up perfectly. And like I said, I mean, the disassembly was just so easy, to put it back together. You know, it is. I mean, it's extremely smooth. You know, it does what it's supposed to. It functions the way it's supposed to, you know, and you've got different grips, you know, with it and everything like that. This one is your diamond pattern, correct?
Right. That's the diamond enhanced. Yep.
Yeah. So this one's a little bit more aggressive, correct?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So just wanted to make sure I'm saying right. So this one, so for like me, I like a more aggressive grip. This one it's aggressive enough, but it's not so aggressive that if I'm carrying it or something like that, it's going to tear me all up and everything. So I really like it. You know, I'm super excited to even have the opportunity to, you know, shoot it, have the opportunity to talk with you. You know, a couple questions that we did have, we've answered some of them. You know, somebody was asking about the DPP plate, which you've answered that. The SU-15 is still on the table.
Yeah, yes, we're calling it the Avangard now. That's the upper receiver project that we're working on with Mark Serbu. We redesigned the whole thing. We went away from the quick change barrel system. It was just too small, too intricate. It was a very neat idea, kind of not practical. It was just more of a selling point, I think, than, you know, practicality. You're not going to change your barrel like crazy all the time. If you are, you're on a machine gun, you know, and this isn't a machine gun. And you got to re-zero your optic every time too. So you might as well have two uppers, right? So we went away from that, but I redesigned everything to be more sleek, more ergonomic, you know, kind of my MO, what I'm good at, right? Is redesigning things to be more ergonomic and thinner and just overall easier, right? So I redesigned it to be a little easier on manufacturing. And we're in the process right now of getting it on schedule for prototyping. We're going to start some prototyping in the lathe probably in the next 2 weeks, and then we're going to be starting in the mill. We just purchased a new mill. It landed yesterday, and that will be getting set up with a new rotary axis. We'll be starting to do different parts in there. The extrusion is going to be the hard part, because getting a custom extrusion made is very cheap and very lengthy in terms of lead time. So we're going to machine it all from solid the first couple of times to make sure everything functions properly before we commit to buying, you know, $10,000 in a custom extrusion. But that project is very much so still on the table, and we are doing it. It's just been delay after delay with our move, with the building, with the contractors, you know, and getting everything here set up, and then getting the pistols online. was more of a hassle than I thought. But we are now in full production of those, and we are going to start shifting focus, or at least I am, shifting some focus to the Avangard project.
Cool. Sounds good. Another question. Are you going to make a Glock mag compatible version of the Ranger 9? No. Okay. So that answers the question there. Another question was the assortment of trigger color. So we do have that. Is it something that in the future you might do like different color barrels, different hammers, things like that? Or is that going to be more of maybe a custom one-off for particular companies like Covert and stuff like that?
A little bit of both. The sales team and I have both talked. We're going to probably do like a quarterly special edition pistol that the dealers can all purchase, whether that be a gold barrel, whether it be a different porting setup, whether it be the custom Cerakote, however it may be. It's going to be, every quarter we're going to change it up and offer a different unique pistol that you guys will see in the marketplace, and they're all going to be limited edition. We're probably never going to repeat them. If we make 30 or 40 of them that month, sell them, that's what it's going to be. So it'll be kind of unique. We might mark them a little differently too, just to kind of symbolize that. But then also the custom stuff. So if a dealer is wanting to do a large amount of custom pistols that are specific to them, like Covert did with the comp and the port, we're absolutely open to that. So it's really up to the dealer's imagination and what they want to do, and what we're capable of doing, right? I mean, everything's a DLC or PVD coated component as far as steel. We do some nitride on the smaller components, and then everything else is hard coat black anodized. But right now we're playing around with hard coat clear anodized and also hard coat green. That looks like a really nice OD green. So that could be something we do and offer in the future in limited runs, right? I don't want to get, again, too crazy with all these options, because people start to go nuts trying to decide what they do or don't want, and then end up not deciding at all. And I also don't want to stock all of it. It's too much inventory, and it just really ruins the throughput of the shop, having to maintain all these different options.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize, adding more color options like that just adds so much more to the builder. It's easier to maybe just have it and then they get it done separately or something like that. But
right, it extends lead times too, because you got to anodize everything, and anodize is something I can't control, and it's not in house. So it adds 2-3 weeks worth of lead time all the time.
Yeah, and I know coding is like the killer for everybody right now, because I mean, it's just when you find a coder that does a great job, then it's okay. Now you got to wait, and you can't like call them and say, hey, I need it next week, because it still has to go through the process and everything like that. So, a lot of people don't realize, coding a lot of times is the longest part of the wait with a lot of stuff. So, because you don't want to just send 1 or 2 barrels, you want to send batches to get done to where it makes sense. So that's where a lot of lead time comes up, and I don't think people realize that. But so,
absolutely.
The 2 questions that I had is, if I'm looking at buying a 2011, why should I go linkless barrel over traditional? Like, why did you go with a linkless barrel? Like, if that, because that's a question I get asked, is why linkless? Why not just the traditional? What made you decide to go with that and, push with that?
Sure. There's a few pros and cons to the barrel link system, right? Obviously, it's very smooth. It creates these very phenomenal shooting guns. There is issues with it. Your barrel link can stretch, it can crack. Your barrel can crack as a cause of that as well. You have to hand fit all that stuff. Like I was saying, the frame and the slide and the barrel and the link, they all coincide together. So if you don't have all of those things working in harmony, it can cause malfunctions. It can have issues, accuracy problems, stuff like that. The linkless system, it's nothing but the slide and the barrel functioning together to lock up every time consistently. So reliability and accuracy should always be better. And that's also a reason you've seen every single pistol, to date, other than the 1911, runs a linkless barrel system, whether you realize it or not. The Glock is a linkless barrel system. The SIG P320s, the M&P 9s, the CZ75s, You know, you name it, it's a linkless barrel system. And John Browning himself, even after the 1911 and how successful it was, designed the high power. And the high power is a linkless barrel system. And that was the basis for every modern pistol after that. Talking about Glock, Sig, Smith, you know, all of them have kind of followed exactly what the high power had done. And so it's the same kind of thing. You know, we're just following suit with the modern pistol market and how reliable and how predictable they are. You know, the having to tie your frame and slide together with a link to the barrel, it's like I said, it's got its great pros. It's very smooth. It's not moving much. The tilt barrel is not a much of a movement, so you're able to suppress it a little easier. There's stuff like that it's all very positive about that gun. There's nothing wrong with the design, truthfully. I just wanted to make the gun a little different and modernize it, and also make it a little easier to manufacture, because manufacturing those traditional barrels, you know, a lot of guys know it's not fun. That's also why a lot of these companies don't make stuff in house, is these parts are difficult to machine. You know, they were designed around machines from, you know, the 1900s. They had knee mills and lines of them. You know, and one guy did one operation, the next guy did another operation. It went down the assembly line until a completed slide came out the rear, you know. And with modern CNC technology now, we do it all in one operation. And so a lot of that stuff is actually more difficult per se now than it was then, if that makes any sense.
No, I mean, exactly. And, you know, and that's the thing that I like about it is different, because as I said before, there's so many companies now that, you know, and I hate to say it this way, but everybody's doing the same thing. There's only so many ways you can port something. There's only so many ways you can do colors. There's only so many ways you can do, you know, slide designs and things like that. You know, there's always one that something is going to look similar to. You know, I don't think there's anything out there right now that can say mine looks different and no one looks the same. There's all that have some little tendencies that look similar to it, but you know, with yours, I will say it is very smooth. You know, it feels different. It shoots great. You know, I even called you the day I was out there at the range. I mean, it shoots very nicely. You know, it's one that just truly, you're trying to take something, make it easier, make it more simple, make it, you know, easier for everyone to be able to kind of take it, be able to disassemble it, put it back together if they need to. You know, a left-handed person can shoot it, a right-hand person can shoot it. You know, I mean, it's a simple function with it and everything like that. So, you know, that's one thing that I know a lot of people like, is just the ease of it. And all the lefties like, because a lot of times the lefties feel like they just get, you know, looked over. So, I mean, this is something really nice for them to be able to get a nice high-end 2011 to be able to shoot, and it not be some custom one-off thing that they had to get somebody to mill a, you know, special grip design just for them. You know, they can get it. They can get all your models, everything like that.
Right.
So, really, the last question I have is, you know, the Ranger 9 has came out. Is there anything else new that's coming that, you know, can be shared or hinted, or, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we're working on I had it at SHOT Show. I think you might have seen it a little bit. It's a little out of right field, but it's a suppressor QD system. So we've been doing suppressor manufacturing for years for many of the major names in the industry that I can't really talk about, obviously. But I've seen all these muzzle devices. I've seen all the shortcomings of them. I've seen the benefits of them. And so I like to kind of just take all the pros and combine them together and try and make the best product that I can, right? So we've got a new QD hub system that I'll be launching hopefully by the end of the year. We're actually prototyping that right now. We're making the muzzle devices as we speak. So once that's on, it's basically going to be a muzzle device like you would like a Chemo or what's the other ones that are popular? The Silencer Co, like ASRs. It'll just be a muzzle device you have to purchase, and then it'll be the adapter that goes to your suppressor. We'll use the 1 3/8 24 hub. We'll probably get into other threads as well with demand as we're asked. But it'll be a 7/8 of a turn, so not even a full turn It will pop on, rotate, and lock into place, and it taper locks just like all the new ones do as well. And it pop back off, one full rotation and come right off the end of the gun. Should be very simple, slight ratcheting system, but not in a way that many have seen before. So I'm excited about that. And then obviously the Avangard project is the upper everyone knows about. We're working with Mark.
Well, cool. Well, man, I know you're busy. I know you got to get back and everything like that. I appreciate you taking the time to, talk with me, talk about the Ranger, talk about Miller Precision, everything like that. So, with the last little bit, is there anything that you want to say, or, is there anything that you got? So, well, then that's it. Houston, I have appreciated your friendship. I've appreciated you, dealing with my, many questions over the last year or so. So, man, I truly appreciate it. I love the gun. I think once it gets into more people's hands, more people are going to love it. Because, it just released, a couple of weeks ago?
If that. Covert and Real Street had them first for maybe 3 weeks now.
Yeah. So, and I know other places are get it. You got the Covert, you got Real Street, you got Not Just Guns, you got, I think, Modern Warriors, yep. All the big names. Make sure you're keeping an eye out, because once they do get them in, I have a feeling that they're going to go quick. The Ranger 9X is, the one that everybody's wanting right now. So, but you've got those other models. You've got something for everybody. I know somebody was asking if I do remember. So I think someone was asking, with this being a thread on, are you going to do one that is non-comp?
Like a sight tracker, just a regular old sight tracker.
Yes.
For competition use. Yeah, we can absolutely do that. The way I would want to do that was sell the comp gun as a comp gun, again, to alleviate more SKU numbers and more purchases from the dealers, and just more headache across this whole side of it, right? And then just offer that comp as not a comp, just a sight block on our website. So you can purchase the comp gun and then jump on the website and purchase the sight block, and then it just threads right on. We have the threads all timed. We know where it's all at, so it'll be a drop fit, item that just goes on the gun.
Awesome. Well, good deal. Well, man, again, I truly appreciate you taking your time. Appreciate you, answering the questions and, dealing with me all this time. So, but I appreciate it. I hope you have a great day, and we're out.